This episode is sponsored by Hadassah Foundation, headquartered in Ghana. Web address hadassahproject.org. Telephone contact +233 24 772 8182.
Today's episode is inspired by something my youngest son said. I asked if he didn't like using the toilet at night because he was afraid of the dark. He responded confidently by telling me he had absolutely no problem with the dark. It was what might be inside the dark that he feared. This made me remember fondly a proverb I grew up hearing a lot. Look before you leap. Join me as we explore the matter of fear and how very limiting this can be. Welcome once again, dear listeners. I hope you're all well. Today's episode is about fear. Something every one of us may have experienced several times. I know I have. I have heard people describe fear as false evidence appearing real. I have heard others call fear a weakness. I have even heard people justify their fear of a thing or a situation by calling themselves realists. Whatever makes people sleep better at night. I remember my first pregnancy. I remember how disoriented it made me. I remember how much I feared telling my parents. It literally affected my sleep and moods. This fear impacted my decision to leave home, to leave Ghana, to leave my family, and to come to the UK at the time without a plan. I also remember how much the initial thought of joining the military scared me, knowing fully well once I completed the training, I most likely would be deployed to a country at war, like most of the soldiers I had heard about, and then maybe never return home. I remember the many times I feared losing a job. What was to become of my financial commitments, my mortgage, supporting the children? After all, it happens to others. People lose their jobs daily. It destroys relationships and families. I wasn't any more special than these people. I am sure some of you can relate. Most of you, actually. What then is the psychology behind fear? Reading further on the subject made me understand fear. Like faith requires belief. To have faith means to starve your fear. Cowards die many times before their death. Now, this is another very popular quote authored by Julius Caesar. Clearly, my 8-year-old son entertained fear only because he couldn't look beyond the darkness he perceived. Knowledge, they say, is power. How then do we deal with what we fear? Perhaps you too need light, some kind of light. Ignorance is the womb that births chaos and fear. If only we could ask more questions, and if only we could give some time to reading, I believe we would better be able to overcome fear, or at least better manage how much we fear. Social media and mainstream news all over the world are currently only talking about the coronavirus, how pandemic it has become, and how many people are dying from it. What questions are we asking about the situation? How much do we know about the survival rates versus mortality rates? I suffered a psychological scare the other day. I had been reading about the coronavirus and listening so much to the news. My husband thrives on current global news. There was therefore no escape. So picture this. At the end of my shift block last week, I am laying in bed, tired and just chilling. My husband comes into the room just about the time I sneezed. He walks up to me and casually touches my forehead with his hand, not a thermometer. And he remarks my temperature appeared quite high. Right then, it didn't matter that he based his high temperature readings by the use of his hand. Just at the time, it was enough to get me started that the monster coronavirus had come to my doorstep. Just then, my mind started to convince me that the sneeze, the tiredness, and the supposed high temperature were definitely signs of the most feared infection. It did not matter that the thermometer proved otherwise. I started to entertain fear. I felt things I shouldn't have felt. I was sure I felt some discomfort in my throat, and then the sudden feeling of tiredness. I was certain this was it. I wanted to discuss self-isolation. Hard as he tried to talk me out of it, the more I was sure this was the monster coronavirus. Cut a long story short, I woke up next morning feeling refreshed. It was only then that I believed him when he said it was meant to be a joke. I'm glad the episode is over though. Perhaps you too can relate. Or maybe you are simply panicking. We all experience fear in so many forms. In my case, my body only interpreted my thoughts, then translated it into what I believed was real. Fear is a demon that comes with its own tragedy. Why embrace the demon of fear and not allow yourself to wear the coat of boldness? Interestingly, some of us justify our inadequacies by using fear itself as an excuse. I'm hoping this is not you. It will surprise you to know that there are many out there who fear their own greatness. Remember, if you are afraid to take a risk, you will never win. I encourage you. The feeling of fear is horrible. Be strong. Keep safe. Determined to beat the psychology behind fear. Until when I publish my next podcast, God bless you and practice safe hygiene. Power to you, and thank you for listening to Essentially Barbara.